Hi, and welcome to the Speaking Driven podcast by the National Speakers Association of Virginia. My name is Mary Foley, and I'm a current member of the NSA Virginia board and today's host. Now, let me ask you, are you an expert who shares your knowledge, your expertise, and your wisdom in order to help your clients succeed? Well, if that's true, then the chances are that you present to groups, small and large, virtually and online, and maybe in all kinds of forms, as an author, a coach, a consultant, an expert, or more. And at the National Speakers Association of Virginia, we're all about being smart and savvy about building your speaking-driven business, which is why we love to have conversations like today with smart and savvy people who are doing just that. And so let's get to it and see what we can learn from today's guests. Today, we're talking with the smart and savvy Vernon Brown. Now, Vernon is the owner and the founder of Whats Your Happi. And that is and that's in Richmond, Virginia. I call it the uber practical way to get happy in your life and in your business, whatever you want to achieve, so you have your own true happiness. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But Vernon, welcome to the Speaking Driven podcast.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me here. This is awesome. Great.
I'm already feeling happier, just so you know. So your work here is almost done. But I got some more questions for you. Now, I introduced you very simply because I want you to tell us more about your business. So here's the question I always ask. What are the problems that you solve and for whom? And can you give an example?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love how direct you are with that. So the biggest, and it's kind of a variety of problems in how it shows up. The problems that really on the forefront are indecision, a disinterest in a lot of things that used to bring you joy, a lack of motivation, and just overall, just a lack of clarity and how that can show up in your profession. You could be at a job that for a certain amount of time, 5+ years, 2 years, 10 years, it's really irrelevant, but you just get the sense of, why am I doing this? Is this really giving me what I want? You might find yourself when, 10 years ago, you would just see an opportunity or see a chance and you would just go for it, but now you hesitate. And you might find yourself kind of ruminating on what are, possibilities of this working out. And it can, it really robs people of what they can possibly be doing. And when it comes to the happiness by my design, it's, and by my definition, it's not about rainbows and butterflies. I don't want people to think it's clap your hands and stomp your feet. It's understanding that, hey, yeah, exactly. Let's all, have positive affirmations, which can be there. But it's about understanding that I have the energy, the understanding to do things. And it kind of gets yourself charged up and revved up.
Excellent. I love that. So can you give me an example of, for example, the kinds of clients that you typically work with to achieve that kind of happiness?
So even right now, I'm going to be presenting to some mental health professionals. I generally work with people in healthcare, lawyers, CPAs, the high stress industries. However, it's not just limited to professionals. What I really do target is for people who have the lifestyle that demands so much of them consistently that it just sucks them dry. Yeah.
That's so that is increasingly more and more of us. Because the demand as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, as a professional, it's not going down, it's only going up. So the happiness factor, I think, comes to the surface really more quickly. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And you touched on such a key point that, overlooked. It's entrepreneurs. And then, you and I both understand this. The demands to, procure business, to, meet people, to network, that doesn't go away. You don't want it to. Right. And so it's about you showing up always, so you can really become that kind of magnet. So you can really just, go out there and show up. And when it comes to these demands, we are not slowing down as a society. We are definitely going to be speeding up. And it's a fact. This is the fastest growing society, and the state that information is just attained, it's not going anywhere.
It's not. No, not at all. And I remember that actually in the early 90s, which sounds really old. But anyway, when I started working at AOL, when AOL was cool, and I already got that sense that here was going to be the technology overall that would speed it up, that would kind of be the fuel onto the fire. And it's proven to be true. And of course, it's advanced since then. So let me ask you this. So we all have products, services, and ways to help solve the problems for our ideal clients. What are
Mm-hmm.
your main ways that you do that for your clients?
Hands down, it's going to be trainings, strategic workshops, and definitely speaking. Those are my go-to three. With speaking, it gives people that space. It gives people, it lends to them a particular ear that, wow, I'm not the only one who experiences this. With workshops, it really brings it out of people. So not only do you say, hey, this is what I want, and this is what I feel. This is what I feel. Now, what can I do? And that's why the workshops are just, they're huge for me, because the work gets done right then, right there, and I'm facilitating it so people can ask those questions that they generally would not ask, other than like on a late night Google search or just with a dear friend. And it's easier to talk to a stranger than a friend, as we all know. So hands down, that's what those are my go-tos. And I do one-on-one coaching as well, but as a whole, who I can talk to as far as leveraging my time, one-on-one versus talking to 1,000, fastest way, the most effective way I found.
Okay, great. So when you think about it, you mentioned three things: keynotes, speaking, I should say. I assume they're keynotes. You're doing a keynote today, right, to the conference.
Right.
So that kind of speaking, workshops, one-on-one coaching. Give us a ballpark of how the percentages of that break down. You mentioned that workshops was a big part.
So workshops are about 70% of what I do right now.
Okay.
Do a lot of trainings for companies. I was just, even for Virginia Tech, I just did that last week. The workshops are 70%. 20% of what I do right now is coming from keynotes. And the other 10%, the other leg of that is one-on-one coaching.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And just curious then, because 70% are workshops, do you typically do one-time workshops or series of workshops for your clients?
Series. Because the first, when I first started doing the workshops, I was thinking, oh, you go in one time, and you or I know you have to create the habit. So what I like to do is to come in once a quarter at the bare minimum, because because you need to check in. And with the way that I do things and facilitating things on happiness, a lot of what kind of takes away our happiness is some things that might be happening at home, which kind of can leak into work, or vice versa. So the first, I'm big on, if I can come in every quarter, it's ideal. I do like to come in once every other month as well. That's perfect for me, so I can check in.
And are a lot of the topics of your workshops how to be happy, or are they a slightly different angle that get ultimately to happiness that perhaps the employees and the professionals relate to right off?
And that is a world-class question. How it shows up, and even in the past 8 weeks, it's been coming under the kind of umbrella of resiliency. Because what a lot of resiliency is you're not having the energy, not having quite the understanding of why you might perceive yourself to be suffering or to be stuck.
Right.
I do speak on topics of diversity as well, and because a lot of sales teams, and that's what I speak on with them often about that. But generally, it shows up with resiliency.
Got it. Okay. And that's kind of, when you said that and you were saying about the demand that we often have before, I immediately had the visual like resiliency. Woo, I'm down, I'm up again. Whoa, okay, I got to bounce back,
Exactly. That's that bounce back. And you just doing it in the chair. It's about, oh my gosh, when you're dodging in life, you're going from left to right, it takes energy to get you back to being centered.
Or you go like this.
Right.
You got to come up like, because I'm too tired, right?
Right. And I'm all about falling forward. Just make sure you lay on your back so you can look up and get up,
That's right. That's right. So how do you use speaking? And we started, this is one of my standard questions I always like to ask about a speaking-driven business. We started to answer it, but a little bit more. So how do you use speaking specifically to drive your business? And what I mean by that more so with you is, you said, 70% are workshops. So do how do you get the workshops? Do you use speaking, free speaking, paid speaking? I don't know, maybe one-time presentations to get those workshops, or is there another way?
So, and I can answer that as brief as possible, but very concise. So when some speeches are not paid. They're just not. And I'm happy to do that. Absolutely happy to do that, because it's about the awareness. And that's where whether it's a paid speech or free speech, the awareness of that, of what I talk about when I go out to an audience and I mention, Hey, you have a loved one that you're taking care of. You're expected to perform highly at work. You feel as though you have to manage your relationship. You're trying to take care of the finances, or, just whatever I might talk about, not to stress anybody out, but it's just the awareness, again, to let people know it's not just them. Even moving with our society, what we talked on earlier, how fast we're moving, people do not talk about the things that really are getting to them. They don't. And when they can finally see someone who understands, who connects, and who helps, and when you go out there and you speak to people, it grows your business even from just a conversation. And from getting those workshops and getting more speeches or getting one-on-one clients, what that does is when they find out that they're not the only one and someone understands what they're going through, or especially when they even let other people know 1 in 3 might have and be going through XYZ, they're like, wow, let me talk to you. And then boom. But it's about the consistency there as well. You don't just do one. I couldn't just do one speech, which I did early on and thought it was going to take off and fly. You got to keep going.
Got to keep doing it. But some of your presentations, your keynotes are sounding like they're also paid. So it might be a combination.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely a combination of it. Even today, like I'm speaking to a healthcare professional, mental health professionals in this case, it's important to understand in those high stress industries that we all need a little bit of happiness. We need a little bit of understanding. But yeah, it's kind of go for tangent there. Sorry about that. But it's free and paid, a combination of both.
That's great. That's great. Now, when you're, in fact, even doing a paid keynote like you are today, do you find that out of simply being up in front of that group, sharing, it might be 45 minutes, might be an hour, whatever it is, did you have people come up to you later or contact you later and said, hey, could we talk about this further? We got some problems in our office or in our organization. Maybe you could come in and speak to them, and that might lead to other business as well.
It does. And this just might be a me thing, Mary. You know how I am. No one's a stranger to me. Even before, I was speaking this afternoon. Now, I got here yesterday. I wanted to be here yesterday, and I talked to everybody. And I think if anything that, and this is just the way I've always done it. So I can't say that just giving a keynote and heading out of here really helps. So I know talking with people, meeting with people, and I see speakers, when I talk to different speakers, they just want to give their speech and get out. No. Meet the people. Talk with them, understand, make a new friend. So I know for myself, that is kind of my go-to formula.
Wow. Some people would think you're right. That's a waste of time. I got other things to do. What I'm hearing from you is not only that those connections aren't no waste of time, but why do we not think of that as truly those making that time and connections as a form of marketing? It really is. Well, I'll tell you one thing. By the time you get up on the stage later today, they're going to love you. They're like, I talked to Vernon yesterday. He's a cool guy. Oh, do you like him? Oh, I talked to him too. Yeah, I really like him. So basically, you're set up to succeed.
You're not talking to strangers. Granted, it's 1,000 people here. Did I talk to everybody? No. Did I make sure I shook hands, I hugged, I talked, high five, made new friends? So when you get up there to speak, you're not speaking to a bunch of strangers. You're speaking to friends.
Love that. Yeah. No, you're literally walking that talk. Well, we can make a lot of choices about how we make a living, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, why did you choose this way of being a happiness coach and propagator of happiness tools?
That question is, that's my number 2 question. The number 2 question that gets asked to me that I can answer with this. I know what it's like to go through life and not have what you want, not know what you want, and not sure how to go about getting it. It literally puts you in this fog. It puts you in a place where you follow this quote unquote script of life, and you're doing these actions, you're doing these things, and it's not really what you want or excites you. And so when I kind of pulled through that, and mind you, I was in that place for 20 years. When I got myself out of that and pulled myself through that, I said, no one should have to go through life like this. No one, absolutely no one should. And so the positive side there is, the gift of long suffering. Hey, guess what? I know what it's like.
Yeah.
Let's sit down. Let's high five. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Create a plan. I'm an architect. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not here to talk about what's wrong. I'm talking about what we're going to do with the options that we have, and then go. So
when you see people respond to that, maybe you in a workshop or one-on-one, how's that make you feel?
Lights me up like anything else, like nothing else, I should say. And even yesterday, when I was sitting around, I met with a few people. We had like this big kumbaya at a table, right? Right when I got there, it's about 6 of us people, and I love it. All walks of life, different genders, different races, and we just came together. And when I'm talking with them about this, their eyes get big. They sit up right. It's like they walk in the room. It's like a judge comes in there, and it's not me. It's them realizing, and like, oh my gosh, oh wow, there's another way of doing things. And for myself, it's like beautiful. They can get it.
Yeah. And it sounds very much like in those moments, not only do you bring awareness, it sounds like you give them permission to admit and to reflect, yeah, I'm not as happy as I'd like. This is true for me too. And the irony is they're mental health care professionals, right? So we actually need them to be the healthiest of all of us to help others.
And, you know, they're excellent. They're awesome at their jobs. Don't get me wrong. I mean, these are some skilled people. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm learning. And it's just that, hey, we're all people.
Right.
We all have a heartbeat, and we all have some things that we're working through. And regardless of what Facebook, social media might tell you, we're all going through something. Just what color is yours, you know?
I love that. I love that. So many of the people that I have become colleagues with NSA, National NSA Virginia, have that extra drive like yourself, who they're very deliberate and specific about their business model and how they're going to grow it. And the end result, though, is they're doing it for a means to an end, which is, I want to impact lives. And it's one of those, not just kumbaya nice, it's like it does something inside of us that truly is priceless. And I think that's really cool. Well, this has been great. I love this. For those who want to get in touch with you, find out more about Vernon, maybe experience a little, one-on-one happiness. I don't know. What's the best way they can do that?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. You can go to my website. It's What's Your Happi. What's Your Happi, and it's happy with an I.com.
Okay.
A really interactive way is my happiness group, which Mary, if you can help me out with posting that link, it's a little lengthy. It's a Facebook group, but it's a happiness group. I do weekly live videos answering questions, and I also have themed weeks, and that's literally just got started a couple of weeks ago. And another way is going to be on facebook.com/Whats Your Happi, and that's kind of What's Your Happi. I check in there every day, but I'm really going for the happiness group, just because it's more interactive and people share very real things, and we just laugh and joke about it. And so, like, all right, let's go.
Online, it's almost like an online workshop in a way, it sounds like, and everybody there wants to be there, right? They're interested in the topic, they're interested in you, they're all kind of like, let's keep the conversation going, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. So yeah, I'll make sure to post that so that everyone can, be a part of that group if they want to, and certainly check you out. Thank you so much for your time today, Vernon. This has been great. Learning about your speaking-driven business to make us all happier.
You're awesome, Mary. I'm trying to catch up to you. This lady is on fire.
I'm going to have to run faster then. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.